Alright guys, we're back with more fantasy baseball content here. I'm going to help you go through your waiver wire so you can pick out the best and most important players to add to your teams. I know I told you guys last week I was going to try to get this video out on Saturday before Memorial Day, but it just got a little crazy. Hung out with some friends, hung out with some family, so I pushed it to Tuesday. Apologies for that, hand up. That's on me. In the future, I think I will still try to transition this weekly waiver wire video to being a Saturday upload rather than a Monday, Tuesday upload. But for now, I really wanted to get this out to you guys again on Tuesday because there are so many cool, exciting, young, potential breakout players that are going to be on this list. I want to tell you guys about them as soon as possible. Of course, before we start, please make sure if you're not yet subscribed to the channel to go down there and subscribe. Click that big black button. You don't want to miss any videos coming out. I've got trade advice. I've got positional re-rankings. I have this weekly waiver wire video. At some point in the next few weeks, I think I'm going to do ranking rosters, maybe roasting your guys' teams, have you guys submit your teams, send them to me. So again, if you don't want to miss any of the videos, please go down there, click that big black subscribe button so you can make sure you're not missing anything. Also, drop this video a like. But now let's get into it. The first player on the big list this week is Marcelo Meyer, shortstop, but now third baseman for the Boston Red Sox. Meyer's a huge prospect, former number 4 overall pick in the draft a few years ago, consensus top 15, top 25 guy in every single big prospect list, and he got the call to the major leagues this weekend because Alex Bregman, the regular starting third baseman for the Red Sox, a star in the league, pulled his hamstring. Manager Alex Cora called that hamstring pull for Bregman a significant injury. From that, we can kind of garner that this will be a probably 6 to 8 week absence for Bregman, which means Meyer has a very long runway here to prove that he is a starter and belongs in this league. First off the bat, without even getting into Meyer's talents, his skills, and his weaknesses, just being a 6-week starter as a left-handed batter in Fenway Park is awesome. It's one of the best parks to hit in baseball, and the top of this Red Sox lineup, even without Bregman, is still very talented, giving Meyer a huge potential for home runs, RBIs, runs scored, all those great things we want in fantasy. But now actually looking at Meyer as a player, the results haven't really come yet for him through his first few games of Major League action. He's just 3 for 12 with 3 strikeouts and no walks in his first 4 career games, but he has made a lot of hard contact and shown off what looks like top-end bat speed. The scouting report on Meyer has been very, very legit, real significant power with possibly some issues with his contact skills. Just this weekend's results, again, 4 games, can't tell us that much, but the top-end bat speed and a couple balls that were hit very, very hard, that tells me the power probably will translate from AAA, where he was hitting for good power, not striking out that much, to the major league level. I do not know what is going to happen to him against major league breaking balls. I'm sure he will see a heavy diet of those, but it does help him that he's a left-handed batter. So even if he does wind up falling into a platoon, he will often have a platoon advantage as a left-handed batter versus what's predominantly right-handed pitchers in the majors. Again, at the complete baseline here, there's a former top pick who's a consensus top prospect who has a starting job and a solid lineup in one of the best places to hit in all of baseball. Meyer's a smash ad everywhere you can get him, especially because he's going to pick up that third base eligibility to go with shortstop eligibility. Next up, we have Addison Barger, third baseman on the Blue Jays. And truthfully, Addison Barger has some of the best underlying metrics right now for any hitter in baseball. Bottom line, his raw power is just straight up nutty. His bat speed is near the top of the league. He's already hit the ball 116.5 miles an hour this year. Only 11 players in the whole league have hit the ball harder so far. He has one of the highest average exit velocities in the league. He pulls a lot of his fly balls. He just rips the ball nonstop. Huge check mark for Addison Barger. Past that, his plate discipline is quite good as well. He swings more than league average at pitches in the strike zone. He doesn't chase very often. And last year he did chase a bunch, so not chasing a lot this year. That's a huge step he's taken forward. He doesn't swing and miss a lot despite that crazy power. He doesn't strike out very often. He takes his walks. When you have the power and the plate discipline, it gets kind of hard to fail. And Barger has both those things together right now. And we have a great opportunity to add Barger to our teams at this moment because his counting stats don't really look that good yet. It's a 250 batting average with a 720 OPS, just 2 home runs and 1 stolen base. Not that special. You can really still fly under the radar and add Barger to your teams. And you want to do that because he has been playing third base every single day for the Blue Jays since Andres Gimenez went the IL a few weeks ago. He's made 17 straight starts there at the hot corner, and the Blue Jays have shown they are comfortable with playing him in the corner outfield. And so far this season, he's returned positive defensive value at both of those positions in terms of OAA. I think the way that Barger's hitting, the way these power metrics look, the Blue Jays are a team that's been starved for power all season. Even when Gimenez comes back, I think Barger easily maintains a starting spot because he will just still be competing with guys like Ernie Clement, who's a good defender, probably 6th in the lineup, but then Nathan Lucas and Jonathan Clase for corner outfield reps in Toronto. He's simply better than both of those guys. He's too good. Even a 10-team league right now, I would be working hard to try and find a way to fit Barger on my roster because the upside for the second half of the season is tremendous, with a floor that's probably much higher than the consensus believes at this moment. Next up, we have Will Warren, starting pitcher on the Yankees. Warren's taken a tremendous step forward as a pitcher this season. Last year, when he came up to the major leagues for the first time, he got straight up trounced. Through 5 starts last year, his ERA was over 10, really, really, really bad. Then coming into this year, he was kind of still getting clowned because through April, his ERA was still over 5, and he wasn't even striking as many guys out as he was last year, again, when that ERA was over 10. But the Yankees had such significant issues with their starting pitching depth, they kind of had to stick with Warren, and sticking with Warren has really paid off. Since May 1st, he has a 2.7 ERA with a gaudy 36% strikeout rate and just a 7% walk rate. That's in 5 starts where he's pitched 26 total innings, and he struck out at least 7 batters in each of those 5 starts. So these strikeouts are coming consistently, he's not allowing a lot of runs, and I do think this step forward again is very real for Warren. That's because he's meaningfully changed his pitch mix, added a curveball. Warren's a right-handed pitcher whose outpitch is a sweeper. The thing is nasty. He's gotten some comps to Michael King. I will not go there, but the way that sweeper moves and having a pretty good fastball and a good sinker, you kind of see the beginning of that package. But while that sweeper from Warren was quite good, and it was so good that it was even able to be effective against left-handed batters, I've talked a lot on this channel about how when righties or a pitcher of any handed throws a sweeper, it's not going to be as good against hitters from the opposite side because that sweeper just kind of comes in. You can see it the whole way. Warren's is so good that it was effective. The problem is he wasn't able to throw it still a ton because you don't want to throw a ton of them even while they're effective. So that left his changeup, which is kind of his worst secondary pitch, out on an island against those lefties. Overall, last season, lefties had over a 1,000 OPS against Warren, while also having a 1,000 slugging percentage on that changeup. Again, these sample sizes weren't huge, but lefties teed off on him mostly because they found ways to sit on that changeup and do damage on it when it came. Now, like I mentioned, Warren's added a curveball to the mix. Looks like a really good pitch so far. It's getting over a 50% whiff rate against left-handed batters on the season in total, and you can see him getting more comfortable with it start after start, and that increase in his pitch percentage with that curveball against lefties also coincides with his hot stretch he's had at the beginning of May. Maybe that's confirmation bias, or maybe that's a real adjustment that's made a huge difference for a guy like Warren, who's a big prospect, has big stuff. The Yankees have done really well with pitching development on the margins the last few years. I trust this step forward a lot. Warren is someone who should be rostered in every league, 10-team leagues. I think the floor is very high and the strikeout upside is crazy. We're seeing what he's doing right now when he's hot. Next up, we have Matt Shaw, third baseman on the Cubs. Shaw was a popular member of the drop list earlier in the season because he surprisingly made the Cubs opening day roster as their starting third baseman and was terrible out of the gate this season. They sent him down after 2 weeks when he had a 172 batting average and just looked completely overmatched at the plate. But he spent a month in AAA, now he's back, and his approach looks totally different and a lot better. He's swinging way more often, he's making more contact inside the strike zone, he's chasing a little bit more, but I think that's just because he's swinging more and being more aggressive. I think some of that's good chase. He's cut his strikeout rate basically in half, down to around 14%, and he's not walking as much. The walks were kind of the saving grace for him when he was really struggling at the beginning of the season. So while he definitely couldn't hit, he was like, all right, let me just try and take my walks and stay with the team. And it's still a small sample size since he's been back with the Cubs, but he's been on base in each of his 7 games, started all 7 of them, another good sign, and has hit 5 doubles. And again, he just was overmatched last time, and that passivity came from not really being able to handle Major League pitching. And I do think one of the reasons that he wasn't able to handle Major League pitching, and I referenced this in a couple waiver videos early in the season, is Shaw, when he came up, had the most closed stance in the league. He was basically diagonal when he was facing the pitcher. I don't really know how you can pick up Major League pitches like that. And especially for a guy like Shaw who does not have elite bat speed, when you're a closed stance, like think about Giancarlo Stanton, how diagonal he is facing the pitcher, you really need elite twitch, elite bat speed to get through the zone. Shaw didn't have that. He was struggling to recognize pitches. He couldn't make contact. He couldn't hit for power. It was a disaster. Now he's back. He's a little bit more open. He's being more aggressive. He's playing every day. He's got power. He's got speed. In most of your guys' leagues, he's eligible at third base, second base, shortstop. It's a really good option in 12-team leagues. I'm probably not ready to jump on him in 10-team leagues or shallower yet, but I'm paying attention to him because he could have the upside to get into that spot soon. But 12-team league, I want Shaw on my roster. Next, we have Ryan Weathers, starting pitcher on the Marlins. I'm shouting out Weathers here even after I advocated for picking him up basically all season on the stash list because through 3 starts, back and healthy with the Marlins this season, he's a 1.15 ERA with 15 strikeouts and 4 walks in 15 2/3 innings pitched. They're still not pushing him a lot. He hasn't completed 6 innings yet in a start, but his stuff looks crazy. He's sitting 97 miles an hour with his fastball from the left side with really good shape on it, really good carry, blazing it through the top of the zone. His changeup is awesome, and his sweeper is decimating lefties with a 60% whiff rate. Right there, bang, 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 all the pieces to be a dominant starting pitcher in this league. He cannot be a free agent in any league of any size. Ryan Weathers is a really good starting pitcher. He has a guaranteed spot in his rotation. He's striking guys out. He has an amazing home park to pitch in. The stuff is 97 from the left side, guys, with a great shape on it. No one in the league does that besides like Mackenzie Gore and Tarek Skubal. I'm not comparing him to those guys yet, but Ryan Weathers does have the upside to be probably like a top 30 pitcher in the league for the rest of the season. Dude's awesome. Can't be a free agent anywhere. Next up, one of my favorites. We got Brett Baty, third baseman on the Mets. You see the Met poster behind me. I have watched every single at-bat Brett Baty's had in his career. I've gone through the highs. I've gone through the lows. I've interviewed him on my podcast, Met Stuff. Even a year after interviewing him, I ran into him He said hello to me, remembered my name, hell of a guy. Not letting that bias into my analysis here, but we're seeing some super real adjustments happening with Bailey, and they're getting me very excited. As is a yearly tradition for Bailey, he went off in spring training and won a spot in the Mets opening day roster. But when he got to the majors after spring training, it was one of the most lost I've ever seen a player look at the major league level. He was 11 for 58 with a 30% strikeout rate. It took him like 3.5 weeks to draw a walk, and it was one of the worst plate approaches I've ever seen. There was a point about 3 weeks into the season when Bailey was at his lowest where he was down 0-2 in nearly half of his at-bats in the whole season. 0-2. 2 strikes and no balls in half of his at-bats. You cannot be a successful hitter at any level of baseball. Little league, high school, college, minors. Definitely not the major leagues when you're down 0-2 in half of your at-bats. Impossible. He was eventually sent back to the minor leagues when Jeff McNeil got healthy, but now he has a spot back on this roster, and he's kind of taking over the starting third baseman job from Mark Vientos, which is inconceivable based on how last year the postseason went for the Mets. But bottom line, Bailey is a much better defender than Vientos at third base. Not even close. Bailey's a plus defender there. Vientos one of the worst in the league. Bailey's also proven that he can handle second base, and he's been playing there a good bit as well. So right there, that versatility and that plus defense, that gives him a starting spot. But then we get to Bailey at the plate, where he is taking real strides. Since he's come back from the minor leagues a few weeks, he has 5 home runs and 900 OPS, crushing the ball. And that comes with about 20% strikeout rate, a 4% walk rate. He's still not getting the walks, but making tons of contact, hitting for power. That's what we like to see from Bailey. Because his calling card, the thing that separates him as a player, is some of the gaudiest raw power in the league. Top end bat speed, top end barrel rate, top end exit velocity. When he puts his bat on the ball, good things happen. Early in the season, in the past in his career, he wasn't putting his bat in the ball, so good things weren't happening. Now it is happening. And it's a really cool adjustment that's made that happen. I mentioned that Bailey is top of the league bat speed. That's really important here because what Bailey has been trying to do for a long time is find better ways to lift and pull the ball so he can access that raw power. In doing so, he seemed kind of obsessed with trying to hit the ball out in front of the plate. For most players, you want to hit the ball out in front of the plate because that allows you to work up more bat speed as your bat comes through the zone. Because if you're hitting the ball out in front of the plate, your bat has more time to travel to that ball. When you're hitting it deeper, your bat has less time to travel. For most players, that's the only way to access raw power. But Bailey is not most players. He's twitchy. He's a freak. He could dunk in high school basketball. The guy has physical tools that a lot of other players in baseball don't. So as he was really struggling with his pitch recognition, he's taking a deep breath. He's letting the ball travel deeper. That's giving him an extra split second to figure out if he should swing at the pitch or not. He's not falling behind the count anymore. And his bat speed is so impressive that even though his intercept point has dropped from 3 inches in front of the plate to now 3 inches behind the plate, he's moved back in the box, he can still get to that power. Because again, he can swing so hard, harder than almost any player in the entire league. Also importantly, because while we need tools, while we need production, we need playing time in fantasy, I mentioned how good his defense has been. He made back-to-back starts last week against left-handed pitchers for the Mets. He had not started against the lefty all year to that point. He also didn't have a hit against the left-handed pitcher, but he had a huge 2-out RBI last week against Garrett Crochet. He did it again against the left-handed reliever later in that game, and he's kind of, again, taken that third base job. They're still not the best approach in general, but while he's accessing this power, he's worth a look in 12-team leagues. And he's about 2 more really strong weeks away from being a real option in 10-team leagues, which I can't even believe I'm saying that after the April that he had, but we're here now. Next up is Noah Cameron, starting pitcher on the Royals. There's really not a lot that meets the eye from Cameron. He's a 25-year-old rookie, big soft-tossing lefty, totally unheralded prospect, but he's been awesome to start his major league career. He's made 3 starts, he's completed 6 innings in each of those 3 starts, and he's allowed 1 earned run or fewer also in each of those 3 starts. 6 innings, no runs. That's the makings of a good fantasy pitcher right there. And Cameron's doing it with a really deep arsenal of solid secondary pitches. As a lefty, he's throwing 5 different pitches at least 13% of the time to right-handed batters. It's a really good way to keep guys off balance and not let them know what's coming next. And that comes with a changeup and a cutter featured. Really good pitches for lefties to have platoon advantages against righties. And Cameron's outpitch is his slider, and he's using that slider plus his 4-seam fastball to just decimate left-handed batters. Right now, it's looking pretty good. I do get nervous about a guy like Cameron though, because while he has good command right now, and that slider is awesome, it's one of these tight gyro sliders, so you can use it as primary pitch against hitters from both sides of the plate. He does all of this to hide what's a very unimpressive fastball. It sits like 91 miles an hour. It's just never going to be a pitch that can hold up a repertoire at the major league level. Again, but I still like him as a pitcher. He knows how to pitch. It's a lot of junk. It's a lot of deception. It's weird stuff going on. It's good, but I think it's more of a good thing in the short term rather than the long term. And when I say good, I mean like this ace potential. What he looks like right now, again, being a guy who's the first 3 starts of his career, 6 innings in each, 1 earned run or fewer in each. That's not the guy he is. I don't really think he's ever has the upside to be like a top 40-ish pitcher. But like the comp is like the best ever version we saw of Eric Lauer, kind of a slightly worse version of Eduardo Rodriguez. It's not really the same as Eduardo Rodriguez because Erod had much more of a power changeup, where Cameron is more of a floater. But it's a good pitch, and this tight slider is amazing too. Like, I want to compare him to a guy like Matthew Liberatore, who we're seeing taking a big step this year, with also this junky profile led by a four-seam fastball and a slider. But oftentimes when guys have this, the cutter, the slider, the changeup from the left side, we usually see a sinker. But Cameron doesn't have a sinker. It's a very weird mix. It's hard to find a comp. I do think he's good. Shouldn't be a free agent in any 12-team leagues at this point, but I would definitely hold off on saying he has this immaculate upside. Next up, we have Jordan Beck, outfield in the Rockies. And Beck's been featured in these videos a few times, and that's mostly because he's had a very chaotic season so far. We know the Rockies are operating with just like no semblance of a plan, no process whatsoever. Beck made their opening day roster, went 3 for 23 in the first week of the season, got sent back down to AAA. Then at AAA, he went 5 for 37, showed no signs of improvement. Rockies called him back up to the major leagues, and right when he got called back up, he had a 5-homer in 3-game flurry and asserted himself as the leadoff hitter and an everyday starter on this team. After he had that 5-homer in 3-game flurry, I shouted him out in a waiver wire video. That's about 4 weeks ago now. But even if you take those 3 games out of the last month he's played with the Rockies, he has around an 800 OPS and 10 other extra base hits, 7 doubles and 3 triples. The guy can still hit, and sometimes big games or big hot stretches like that can kind of shift and trick us with a player's stat line over a pretty short sample, which a month is a pretty short sample. The fact that Beck is productive even without that crazy stuff, he's a good hitter. I know he's a good hitter. He's not a great hitter though. There's lots of swing and miss in his game. He's got like a 30% strikeout rate. He whiffs a ton. That's because Beck just takes daddy hacks every single time he's in the box. Big long swings that create tons of bat speed, but then also tons of swing and miss. It's really an all or nothing approach for Beck. That's fine though, because he still doesn't chase that often. So he's identifying the pitches in the zone to swing at, but sometimes the swing is just so long he can't actually hit them, which is pushing his zone contact rate a little below league average. End of the day though, this is a fun approach for a Rocky, and we like Rockies like this on our teams. But be mindful, we like Rockies like this more so in daily leagues and weekly leagues, because we want to manicure our roster to make sure we're playing them in Coors Field and possibly avoiding them with not. And as of right now, when this video is coming out, the Rockies have just begun a 9-game road trip, but after that, they're back home for a 6-game homestand. So be advised when you're adding Beck to your teams. He doesn't really have a big platoon split yet, but we know the Coors Field is undefeated, both for hitters leaving and pitchers arriving. So be mindful of that. If you add Beck and he has a bad week right now, wait for the Coors time to come before we make another decision, whether to add him, drop him, whatever. All right, now last guy on the big list is Chase Meidroth, shortstop on the White Sox. This is also Meidroth's second time being featured in these waiver videos, because I got called up a month ago and he had a really good first weekend, so I wanted to shout him out. But now that we've seen more of Meidroth after a month of play, I might be even more excited about him. He was the most major league ready piece that came back to the White Sox in the Garrett Crochet deal. Struggled a little bit after a nice first weekend, but now I think definitely has proved he belongs. He's running nearly a 300 batting average with a 750 OPS. He had a 12-game hitting streak that was just snapped on Monday, but he also drew 2 walks in that game, so he's riding a 13-game on-base streak. He's become the everyday leadoff hitter for the White Sox, also the everyday shortstop. It was definitely a question of whether or not he could handle shortstop defensively, but he's graded out as a plus defender there in terms of OAA so far. Huge development. We love to see that. And it's just such a weird profile. He's a pest at the plate. He never, ever swings. The lowest swing rate in all of baseball for every player with at least 100 plate appearances this year. But with that, he also has one of the best zone contact rates of any player in baseball, which is amazing. So he's never ever swinging, but whenever he swings and the ball's in the zone, he is making contact with it. Think about guys like Jacob Wilson, Luis Ariz, Steven Kwan, but it's even more extreme than that, because those guys do swing pretty often. Kwan doesn't swing as much as those guys, but Meidroth even swings less often than Kwan and draws significantly more walks than him. I do think that patience, his ability to work deep counts, and his ability to put a solid swing on the ball when it's in the zone, that'll keep his batting average pretty high. And if the batting average is high and the walk rate's high, it's going to keep his on-base percentage high. And on top of that, something that Meidroth's added to his game so far is going to be much more important for you guys in category and rotisserie leagues. He's stealing bags. He never stole more than 13 bags in a full minor league season, but he has 5 in his last 10 games and 8 so far in 31 games as a rookie. If he can steal 20 bags, I don't think the power's ever really going to come. Maybe he'll run into like 7 to 10 homers. He does pull a good bit of his fly balls, but right now he has 1 and just 107-mile-an-hour max exit velocity. If you get 8 home runs, 20 steals, a 290 batting average, it's a really good player, especially one on the bottom of your roster that's eligible at shortstop, second base, and third base in most of your leagues. That's a fun bench piece to plug and play. Great profile and someone you definitely want to look into deeply if you're in a 12-team league. All right, guys, now that's the end of the big list, but like we do every single week on these waiver wire videos, I'm now going to go through some players specifically for you guys in shallow leagues, and you guys in deep leagues, some minor leaguers and injury guys to stash, and then some players you guys should feel comfortable dropping. But first, here's a bunch of guys that are not rostered widely enough in shallow leagues. When I do these shallow league roster rates, I'm using ESPN, because I think ESPN is the shallow league website. I know a lot of people play on Yahoo or Fantrax. I think those are usually much more reserved for your 12, your 14, your 15 team leagues. But I think most of our, 12, 10, 8-team leagues there in ESPN. So here's some guys that are not rostered widely enough in those ESPN leagues. First up is Dansby Swanson. I've been championing Dansby all year in this channel. He's a really good shortstop still. No reason he should be only rostered in 61% of teams in ESPN leagues. Then Matthew Liberatore, 54%, really good starting pitcher, ascending. I think people are still just behind on the Liberatore breakout. He should be on a team in every 10-team league right now, especially on ESPN where he's relief pitcher eligible. So you can stash him in your relief pitcher spot in your lineup, get extra points out of him. Then Ivan Herrera, Liberatore's teammate on the Cardinals, might be one of the best hitting catchers in baseball all of a sudden. Just hits the heck out of the ball every single time he's in the box. Incredible so far this season. Yet only 49% rostered. Jackson Holliday on the Orioles, 44% rostered. As the Orioles have tried to shake things up, Holliday's regularly hitting leadoff for them. Second base is such a bad position in fantasy baseball, Holliday's clearly a top 10 option. Then Zach Neto, this is egregious. On ESPN leagues, Zach Neto is 30% rostered. I can't even wrap my mind around that. I just did my shortstop rankings last week. I think Neto really might be a top 10 guy, easily, the deepest position in fantasy baseball. He's on a 40-40 pace right now. 40-40, not 20-20, not 30-30, 40-40. He's becoming one of the most underrated players in baseball. The fact that he's available right now at this second in 70% of leagues on ESPN, that's egregious. If you have a starting shortstop, you put him in your utility spot. He's that good. Then Jake Berger, also 30% rostered. He had a bad start, got sent down, came back up, hitting well since he came back up. Solid corner infield guy. Similarly with Josh Young, his Rangers teammate, only 25% rostered, having a really good sneaky breakout season right now on a Rangers team that's struggling. Ryan Pepiot, starting pitcher in the Rays, 23% rostered. His ERA is in the threes. He's not really striking that many guys out, but I think they'll come. The repertoire is really nice. I like Pepiot a lot. Then Rhys Hoskins, only 17% rostered. The Rhys Hoskins we're seeing this year in the Brewers is basically the exact same Rhys Hoskins we always saw in the Phillies. Power, patience, good player. Then Augustin Ramirez, only 15% roster. I talk about him all the time in this channel. He's a blatant top 10 catcher in the league. We have power upside, we have some speed, we have consistent contact, and he's getting DH reps on a poor Marlins team. Can't be available in 85% of leagues. Then lastly, Nick Kurtz, first baseman on the Athletics. There was a lot of fanfare and hoopla surrounding Kurtz's call-up about a month ago. He kind of fell flat in his face for the first few weeks. Now he's hit 5 home runs in the last 10 games. Power's starting to come. The patience is there. The bat speed's top of the line. I would definitely like to take a flyer on Kurtz if he's available in my league, even the shallow league, because the upside's crazy. Next, we have the stash list. Guys who are either on the injured list or still in the minor leagues who are going to be in the major league soon who should be keeping an eye on. First up, huge one, big gold star here, Yuri Perez on the Marlins. Yuri Perez, when he's healthy and he's pitching, is one of the most electrifying stars in baseball. He's been working through a long rehab assignment after Tommy John surgery last season. He's up in AAA now. His fastball sat 98 miles an hour in his last rehab start over a 60-pitch start. He should not be available in any leagues. You have an IL spot, stash him. If you don't have an IL spot, find a way to hold him, because if he's pitching with the Marlins within a few weeks now, he'll probably be a top 25 pitcher when he's ready. Then Jack Caglianone, first base, now playing outfield prospect for the Royals. Just some of the gaudiest raw power in the minor leagues. He's hitting the ball 110, 115, 118 miles an hour daily down AAA. The Royals outfield is terrible. I can't imagine they keep him down in the minors for long based on how bad their options are right now in the major league level versus how well he's hitting at AAA. Despite only being drafted last year, the guy's a freak. Then Bubba Chandler, I talk about him a lot. Disappointed. I tried to call my shot. He's not up yet, but he's amazing. He's just tearing through AAA. At some point, he will be on the Pirates, probably some point soon. And again, another guy who's probably a fringy top 30 pitcher the second he gets the call. Now some deeper league guys. Mick Abel on the Phillies. He made a spot start about a week ago. Had a really good major league debut. It was just a spot start though. Got sent back to the minor leagues. But he's good. Right now, Taijuan Walker's pitching well for the Phillies. I'm sure that won't last. If Mick Abel gets a starting spot, he should be rostered in basically every league, at least every 12-team league. And Carson Whisenhunt, the Giants. The Giants have an open rotation spot right now. Kyle Harrison's taking it for the moment. But Whisenhunt has good stuff and potential. He's a changeup first righty. I don't love changeup first righties, but someone to keep an eye on. Andrew Painter, super prospect in the Phillies. He's slowly working his way through AAA. We're probably not going to see him until after the All-Star break, but he's high potential, one of the best pitching prospects in baseball. And then super deep league guy, AJ Bluba in the Astros. Back of the Astros rotation is not very good. I'm going to talk about some of those guys in about a minute here in the deep league ads, but Bluba has good stuff. He made a spot start this year, got a lot of strikeouts, deep pitch mix. I like Bluba more than the guys in the back of the Astros rotation right now. And then some IL guys. Mike Trout just started running, probably a week or two away from rehab assignment. I don't know what's going to happen with Trout, but just keep an eye on Mike Trout if he's available in your leagues. Sean Manaea and Frankie Montas also both on the Mets, working their way through rehab stints. Montas made the rehab start. Manaea is supposed to make one soon. Probably still at least 3 or 4 weeks before we see either of them at the major league level, but both good guys in deeper leagues, especially Manaea. Probably guys who definitely be rostered in a 12-team league. Now we've got some deep league ads. The first one being Slade Ciccone, starting pitcher on the Guardians. Ciccone was the big return from the Diamondbacks to the Guardians this offseason for Josh Naylor, and he's got some good stuff. Decent fastball, decent slider. He'd be one of the guys in the big list, but if you look, his next couple scheduled starts, they're really poor. Even though he's coming off a couple good ones, especially one against the Tigers, who've actually been a good offense in the league this year. I can't advocate adding Ciccone in shallow leagues because you really just want to be streaming screaming, churning the bottom of your roster all the time in those leagues. So the most important thing to do is always look at the next 3 or 4 scheduled starts for pitchers if you don't know whether to pick someone up or drop somebody. But keep an eye on Jacoby in deeper leagues. Add him because when he gets those starts against easy teams, you want him on your team. He's a good pitcher. Then Ryan Nelson, starting pitcher in the Diamondbacks, back in the rotation now. Had a really good start against the Pirates on Monday night. He still just doesn't have much to build off his fastball, but the fastball is really good. And last year he was a really successful pitcher through the second half, so I'm choosing to trust him. Then Andrew Abbott, starting pitcher on the Reds. He's a deep league guy, but he's probably not available in deep league because he has been pitching well. I've never been a fan of Abbott, but the fastball is missing some bats. The whiffs are going down, but he does have good stats. Probably shouldn't be a free agent in deeper leagues anywhere. Then Robert Hassel, outfielder in the Nationals. Once upon a time, he was the centerpiece of the Juan Soto trade and not James Wood, who's already a superstar. Hassel got called up last week for the Nationals. He doesn't really hit for very much power, but he can steal bases, which probably helps you in a deeper league. And Kyle Harrison, starting pitcher in the Giants. Mentioned before, the Giants reinserted Harrison to their rotation, but he was pitching as a reliever, so they're kind of building him up slowly. He just worked about 4 innings in the start. I don't know if we're going to see him go 6 innings, like maybe ever, because they moved him to the rotation because he wasn't that effective as starting pitcher. But starting pitcher in the Giants, that's a great place to pitch. Worth it in a deep league. Then Lane Thomas, outfielder in the Guardians, got activated off the IL last week. He was so bad though to start the year. It's like a 100 batting average and a 300 OPS. But Lane Thomas is usually an acceptable major league player. Those guys are worth it in deep leagues. Then Denzel Clark, outfielder on the Athletics. Pretty decent prospect, interesting stuff, called up over the weekend. He has 115 max exit velocity, so we think that's really good power, but he cannot lift the ball and he's incredibly passive at the plate. So I don't know if he's going to be able to identify and swing at enough pitches to lift and get the consistent power in games, but he's really fast, will steal bases, and he looks like he's going to be a starting center fielder on the Athletics because they're one of the worst teams in the league defensively. They're in a pretty bad losing streak right now after playing over 500 baseball through the first 6 weeks of the year. They need to shore up that defense, and Clark will do that in center field. Then Mike Burrows, starting pitcher on the Pirates, called up for a start last week. I think I'm not being that fair to Burrows because they called him up over Bubba Chandler, but Burrows has good stuff, got good results at AAA. Not a bad option in deep leagues. Then we have the 2 guys at the back of the Astros rotation I kind of alluded to before, Ryan Gusto and Colton Gordon. I've shouted out Gusto on this channel a few times. He really has not lived up to the hype I tried to give him. It's supposed to be a good fastball, but the fastball's kind of drifting back to league average. There's nothing else after that. And then Colton Gordon's a big, funky lefty with a lot of stuff, but it's a fastball and a sweeper. Doesn't really have anything to get right-handed batters out consistently. I like these guys for deep leagues because they are pitching every 5th day. In your deeper leagues, 15, 16-team leagues, that's a huge deal. But I do think these guys will eventually get pulled from the rotation for AJ Bluebud at some point. Then Dalton Varsho, outfielder in the Blue Jays. Much better defensive player than offensive player, but if you need a power speed guy, he has that. Top of the league, bat speed, but also some of the worst swing and miss the entire league. So definitely don't look for him to plug up your batting average. Then Will Benson, outfielder in the Reds. Just as is tradition, Will Benson's red hot for 2 weeks. I'm sure this will not continue, but while he's hot, you probably want him on your team. Somehow, Chris Paddock, starting pitcher in the Twins this year, he had a blow up against the White Sox to start the season. I think everyone looked him off after that, but he's just been solid since then. He just kind of knows how to pitch. He's out there, bulldog mentality. I don't really like Paddock moving forward consistently. I think there's a blow up in his future, but he's pitching fine. Deep league, that's worth it. Same with the last guy in this list, Randy Vasquez, starting pitcher on the Padres. Just so much junk from Vasquez. Deep 6-pitch mix, and he's going to show you all of them in a start. It's definitely not that great. Sometimes really going to hold your breath. He had a pretty okay start against the Marlins on Monday. He's going to pitch again against the Pirates later this weekend. Those are 2 great matchups. You stream a guy like that in. But again, it's a lot of junk. It's one of the highest walk rates in the league. Even when he faces bad teams, there's some slight blow potential. But the ERA is low. He's getting guys out. All right, now lastly, I gave you guys a lot of players to add, so I have to give you some guys to drop. First off, very easy one. Jose Alvarado got popped for PEDs, suspended for 80 games. Get him out of here. Justin Verlander hitting the IL. He looks so old. He looks really done. I don't know. I can't really vouch stashing Justin Verlander at this point in his career. Marcus Semien, I tell you guys to drop him every week. The guy looks toast right now. Yu Darvish had to pull back off his rehab assignment. Now he's just kind of throwing. So with the timeline extended on Yu Darvish, I don't know if I want to stash him yet until I see him get back into rehab games. Jared Jones, horrible news, is going for surgery. He's going to miss the entire year. One of my favorite pitchers heading into the year. Tough blow for the Pirates who are having an awful season. Sad for Jones though. Then Ronel Blanco on the Astros, another guy going to the IL, elbow inflammation. Elbow inflammation, never a good sign. And Christian Campbell, someone I've championed hard this year, second baseman on the Red Sox. He just really hasn't hit well over the last month or so. Pitchers are crowding him inside with velocity, and he hasn't responded to it yet. The Red Sox are also sitting him a few times a week now against right-handed pitchers. If a guy like that is sitting against right-handed pitchers, it's hard to advocate for holding him in shallow leagues. And lastly, Jordan Lawler. Shortstop, but kind of right now utility guy on the Diamondbacks. I don't know why they called him up as their most heralded prospect, just to play like a game or two a week as a utility guy playing all over the field. It doesn't make any sense. He looks terrible. He doesn't look comfortable. I don't see his working out. I would drop Lawler. But that's all we got. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Again, please subscribe to the channel so you don't miss anything. We're going to have more positional rankings. We're going to rate rosters. We're going to have some trade advice stuff. Click that big black subscribe button down there so you don't miss any of it. Drop the video a like as well. But thank you guys again so much. I appreciate the support. I'll see you next time.